Hey there, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. I am really interested to get into this topic today. I think it's one of those things that seems obvious on the surface until you think about it a little bit. Keyword difficulty. I think we've all been sort of trained to use tools and sort of take keyword difficulty, ratings and scores and whatnot as gospel to some extent, right? And we use those in our processes. But I think once you really start to think about, how does that keyword difficulty derived? What is it really telling us? And how should we really be using it as a tool, not just to assess keywords, but also potentially to uncover kind of hidden opportunities? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We've got Kane Jamison, who's the CEO and co-founder of Content Harmony. He's going to be joining us today and sharing a little behind the scenes look at how they think about keyword difficulty as part of their software, and sort of how we can, again, sort of better use these metrics as we're evaluating keywords, assessing keywords, doing research, planning our strategy, prioritizing topics, right? That's a big one, of course. So again, I'm really excited to get into that. Before we bring Kane on, I just want to do my normal quick calls to action here. First and foremost, I have to give a huge shout out to Kane and the team at Content Harmony, who are they have both sponsored this session, and they are, of course, also presenting. So if you have not checked out their software already, please hit the link. There should be one in the description below, or you can visit contentharmony.com. They've got a really kick-ass piece of software that helps you build briefs and evaluate keywords and all this really cool stuff when you're planning and prioritizing content as part of your strategy. A bunch of tools that are super helpful. And I think we'll get a little bit of a preview of those today and how some of those work. So again, thank you to the Content Harmony team. Please take some time to check out their software if you have not already. Second of all, please like and subscribe our video here today. Would love to get your help in just continuing to spread the word, bring in more people, help people find our content, our sessions, our channel. So yeah, you can do that by liking and subscribing. And my final CTA, of course, is, as always, if you are not already a member of Top of the Funnel, please join us there. Yesoptimist.com/tofu. It's a free Slack community. We've got all kinds of folks, in-house marketers, agency folks, freelancers, and it really runs the gamut from people who are deep in the weeds in content and more technical and SEO people. So if you're looking to up your content marketing game, find new work, network, and learn from other people, there's tons of smart folks there. Kane is a member. I know he's chimed in on a few conversations recently. So yeah, just would love to have you. Please join us there. Yesoptimist.com/tofu. And yeah, we'll see you inside Slack. All right. With all of that out of the way, let me once again just our guest today, Kane Jamison, is the co-founder and CEO at Content Harmony. And today he's going to be sharing with us some information about keyword difficulty and why we may be misinformed about how we think about and use it. Kane, hey, how's it going?
Hey, everybody. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, man. So I'm so glad to have you on. As I said, I think this is such an interesting topic to me because I think it's one of those things that people just sort of take it at face value, especially when you're learning the tools and, it kind of feels like a magic thing that you don't really know how it works. So I'm excited to unpack this topic and really learn a little bit more of the nuance and the wizardry that goes into it.
Totally. Yeah. Keyword difficulty, KD. It's like this magical column inside the inside the keyword tools we all use, and the magic part of it makes it really easy to ignore how it actually works. But yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Awesome. Real quick, just before you kick off, Kane, one thing I just want to mention for the audience here, I forgot to say, if you have questions as Kane's going through his workshop today, please pop those in the chat. Also, just say hi to us in the chat so we know who's here and where you all are from. And yeah, we'll either get to the questions during the discussion today, or we'll have some time at the end to go through questions. So feel free to drop those in the chat.
Sweet. All right. Is that my cue? Time to hop in?
Yeah.
All right.
By all means, yeah. Let's get into it.
Sweet. Well, thanks for the intro, Tyler. I'm Kane. The presentation title here today is the keyword difficulty myth, but really, I think keyword difficulty is kind of this portal into the question of, can I rank? And so we're actually going to be talking about a few different things today, other than just keyword difficulty, how to actually replace keyword difficulty, because I think it's a concept that is sort of broken, especially how it's integrated in a lot of tools now. And so we'll talk about why current keyword difficulty methods are broken. We'll get into how search intent is part of what's actually determining true keyword difficulty. And then we'll switch into kind of more of the actionable stuff of how your team should actually be assessing ranking potential, and then how I think you can actually make keyword difficulty irrelevant to your site, to the point where for the topics that really matter for your brand, you can start to ignore keyword difficulty, even if you're that small site that doesn't think you can rank for the big difficulty keywords and things like that. So that's sort of the promise. You're not going to walk out of here with a new single fancy keyword difficulty. So this is my stupid Photoshop to go along with that. Please don't sue me, Columbia Records. But I don't think it's possible to replace keyword difficulty with like one simple number that you should be looking at. But I do think it's possible to make keyword difficulty better, still use it in different ways. Part of that's going to be me showing you how we do content harmony, keyword difficulty a little bit differently inside of Content Harmony. I'll show you a few Content Harmony screenshots, mostly for convenience, but the stuff I'm talking about, even if you don't use Content Harmony, you can apply it to the process you're already doing with the tools you already have. So not just a big old pitch for what we're doing for metrics. So yeah, let's jump in. I'm going to jump in the Wayback Machine for a minute and go back in time. Any of the old school SEOs on the call may remember this thing called toolbar PageRank. And so if you were doing publishing on the web in 2004, 2008, the closest thing we had to keyword difficulty was logging in, doing a Google search, and then clicking on each result and seeing how long that little green bar was inside of the Google toolbar. And so like the original keyword difficulty is everybody ranking has a page rank of 4 to 7, and my page rank is 3. I got to get my page rank up before I deserve to rank on page 1. So keyword difficulty, there's a long history that leads up to the tools that we use today and call keyword difficulty. There was never, to my knowledge, a single metric that was like average page rank of what's ranking, although I think a couple of toolbars might have tried to show it all on the search results. But this was there for a while. And if you were still using it in 2016 when it shut down, you've got bigger problems with your SEO approach, but it was around for a long time where you could still look up toolbar PageRank. And thank you to Search Engine Land for documenting the history, because they're like one of the only people that has a decent image of PageRank and how it used to look. And so that was there, and that was the dark ages. And eventually, I think one of the first ones I ever saw was Moz coming along with the keyword difficulty report. And it was after they'd established domain authority, page authority as metrics in Linkscape. And this is kind of a throwback report. This one's from 2013, but I think the tool was around for a few years before that. And what was really cool about this butterfly chart, just to get nostalgic for a minute, is you could kind of look at the orange arrows and be like, I've got a domain authority of 20. I think I should be able to fit somewhere in the bottom half of this page. And this was back when links on the page actually were kind of the main linking, ranking factor in play. And so this is kind of a cool approach. It allowed you to get a feel for like what the landscape for a keyword was like. And this, in my mind, kind of set the groundwork for what keyword difficulty has become. Now let's fast forward to what we've been using for the past 5 or 10 years. I break down the current keyword landscape or keyword difficulty landscape into 2 groups: blended factor metrics and single factor metrics. Moz and SEMrush are here on the screen. Moz and SEMrush use what I call blended factor keyword difficulty metrics. They both have a difficulty column. They both have a number 0 to 100 that represents keyword difficulty. If you look at their documentation, they are both based on a variety of factors. So on the left, Moz bases keyword difficulty on page authority, domain authority, click-through rate. Their keyword difficulty puts a weight on higher ranking versus lower ranking, less visible pages, and then they factor in a few other modifiers and things. So there's that. On the SEMrush side, I can find less documentation, but from what I can tell, there's a similar. It takes into account competitors and link metrics, content quality, search intent, backlinks, domain authority. That's what the blended factor metrics look like. On the other side of the market, Hrefs uses what I call a single factor metric. What I think is magical about this, and the reason I think a lot of SEOs have treated it as kind of like the, best in class, whatever, keyword difficulty for a long time, is We advanced SEOs know exactly what it is telling us. It's based on a single factor. They say right there in the documentation, we calculate Ahrefs KD by taking a trimmed mean of the number of linking domains to the current top 10. They take the referring domains to the site's ranking on page 1, they drop the highest links, they drop the lowest links, they take the stuff in the middle, average it out, put it on a scale of 0 to 100. It doesn't take into account any other variables whatsoever. And for me, as an SEO that knows what I'm doing, that's magical because I know what this number means. It's telling me how bad is the link building going to be to rank on this search result. So 0 to 100, how many links am I going to have to build? And, slap a number on there for how you figure out your cost per link and like cost of content promotion or whatever. It's kind of a cost to rank for some people, that depending on the type of niche you're in. So that's the Ahrefs approach and the single factor keyword difficulty approach. I think keyword difficulty, the way we're using it here in the popular tools, falls apart in a few ways. And so I'm going to walk through those. On the first hand, we've got the blended factor metrics. My problem with blended factor metrics is I don't understand why a keyword is hard to rank for. So on the left, you'll see 5 keywords in Ahrefs that are big brand names or like big queries. Keyword difficulty is 90 plus, which means they've got hundreds of referring domains on average to the stuff on page 1. On the right, you see the same keywords in Moz, and the difficulty here are in the 60s. That's great. I'm not saying it should necessarily be 60 or be 90, but when I look at the single factor metrics in Ahrefs, I know exactly why the keyword difficulty is 90. When I look at the blended factor metrics, and this is not to pick on Moz because theirs may be more accurate for some level of that SERP, but I can't tell what it means. Like, it says 60, but I can't actually rank for Six Flags. I can't actually rank for BMW, and I'm sure not ranking for the stock market as long as Google Finance exists and takes up a few search results, right? So what does keyword difficulty mean then? And so for my purposes and for training my team on how to think about keyword difficulty, I have to throw it out the window because I can't tell them what to do with that. So that's my problem with blended factor metrics. Even though there's some really smart SEOs working on those metrics and there's some really cool stuff blended in, I don't understand how to use it oftentimes. Which is not to say that the single factor metrics fix it all. Single factor metrics only work if that factor is actually a ranking factor. So here's a cherry-picked list of keywords that's low keyword difficulty and super high volume in Ahrefs. If you look at the keyword volume, this is 1 million monthly down to 400,000 monthly searches. Like, these are big queries, and they're all brand names or local intent queries. You will not rank for any of these. If you're Yelp, sure, you can rank for it. If you're the brand itself, you can rank for it. The problem with this is not when you're looking at a single keyword at a time. Obviously, you can look at Noodles and Company and know, like, all right, guys, we're just not ranking for this. Pull that keyword out. The problem is when you're looking at 10,000 keywords in a spreadsheet and you're trying to filter them off keyword difficulty, and you're like, man, look at all this volume we can go after. And you tell a client or your stakeholder, I think we can get a good few 100,000 sessions off the keywords inside of this spreadsheet because nobody pulled Noodles and Company out of there with a low keyword difficulty because it's like, yeah, it's 10. We can do that. That feels like a little bit of like a contrived or strained example, but that's the reality of how keyword difficulty gets used by a lot of teams. And so in a case like this with heavily local intent, heavy branded intent queries, they're actually truly high difficulty queries. Most sites do not deserve to rank for this. Keyword difficulty leads you to believe you can, and it muddies up your data because it's just sitting there inside your spreadsheets full of keywords you think you can rank for. On the flip side, there are other problems with keyword difficulty that are not actually a result of keyword difficulty. One of them is keyword difficulty can't or won't clearly tell you if you're in a low click-through rate or a low traffic opportunity environment. That is not a problem with keyword difficulty. That is a problem with how teams use keyword difficulty. So when we get into a situation where teams are treating keyword difficulty as one of the only value filters, like imagine I only showed you 3 columns on this table. You see the keyword, you see the difficulty, and you see the volume. And maybe if you're a homework or a science website, you scroll down to the middle and you see iron 2 oxide formula. Keyword difficulty 1, 2500 volume. We're going to clean up on that. Like, get it into the content calendar, publish something about this formula thing. Let's get it out there because we're going to earn some traffic. And you might miss this sneaky little column on the right that's clicks per search, where Ahrefs, kudos to them for giving out this data in a sensible way, tells you only 1 in 10 people ever actually click on that SERP. So you might get the featured snippet on the SERP, And maybe best case scenario, you get 250 visits off that head term. And so SEOs will pull in volume, they'll pull in keyword difficulty, and they'll put together a really awesome editorial calendar of titles to approve, stuff they should publish on. And they'll ignore these other factors because it's hard to fit into their process. And so keyword difficulty is deceptive because it leads you into thinking, yeah, you can rank for it, but you may not get the value you think you're getting. Here's another example, and this one doesn't show up on CPS, so I'm kind of taking this further. But let's say you're a fashion site, and you spot the keyword, how to tie a tie. That seems like a fantastic opportunity for a fashion site. 360K volume, keyword difficulty 62, but maybe we're a medium big site. We rank for other keywords that are in that range. I think we've got a shot. 70,000 traffic potential. Let's say we are checking that clicks per search and we see 0.6. 60% of people click on something. That's pretty good. That's better than like a 30% click-through rate type of model, right? So we put this in our editorial calendar. We build a brief. The writer starts working on it. And at some point, maybe while it's being worked on or a month after it's published, somebody Googles the keyword and says, hey, there's a really big video at the top of the page, and I don't think we're ever actually going to get 70,000 visits from writing an article about how to tie a tie. And that's because nobody stopped and checked search intent to tell you that there's a giant video, featured snippet, followed by a big video pack. They've both been there for multiple years. And even if you scroll 2 or 3 scrolls down the fold and go deeper into the search results, you have to be Brooks Brothers or Ties.com to rank in the number 1 or 2 organic slots they're hiding way further down on the page. So you're thinking this is a big win, and you're missing out on the fact that you have to approach this content entirely different than the rest of your editorial calendar, and this has to be part of your YouTube and your video strategy, even if you want a shot at ranking organically, but if you want a shot at showing up in these video SERPs. And so keyword difficulty leads you to think that you can basically escape search intent. And you can't. On the flip side, keyword difficulty also hides opportunities to punch above your weight. This is a SERP overview for protein benefits. That's a big keyword. I forgot to look at the volume, but I know it's in the many thousands, right? Keyword difficulty, 82, super hard. All of the sites ranking, WebMD, Healthline, MyPlate.gov, have domain ranks and hrefs in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And then right at the bottom of the SERP, somebody, CHWB Online, it's like a local health clinic, is showing up in number 10. Now granted, not the highest click-through rate slot on the page. But this site, domain rank 29, 19 referring domains, has no business on earth ranking for this keyword according to keyword difficulty and what most of us SEOs know it should take to rank on this type of query. I'm not saying this is going to rank here forever, but keyword difficulty hides these type of opportunities. Because even if this number 10 page is getting tested on this head term, and even if they don't rank number 1 and get the traffic for protein benefits, they probably get some secondary and tertiary keyword visibility and some actual traffic to that page that they may not have tried to produce content about if they were just leaning on keyword difficulty to prioritize opportunities. So that's one thing. It's hiding these great opportunities from you. There is a flip side to that, and I forgot to put a slide in the deck, but keyword difficulty looks like difficulty because it's in the name. It looks like it's going to be hard to rank for this thing. If you're thinking about it as an SEO that's trying to skate by and rank for the easiest stuff, keyword difficulty is something to avoid. If you're thinking about an SEO who wants to clean up on a bunch of links without sending a bunch of emails, keyword difficulty actually means this is super linkable content. Tons of sites are linking to high keyword difficulty search results. If you go, you read the cool blog posts in the SEO space about you should do statistics content, you should do proprietary research, they have huge keyword difficulties on those keywords. It's not necessarily because the link building's hard, it's actually because the link building is easy. You can clean up on links because it is highly linkable content. So you're over here prioritizing low keyword difficulty content and actually hampering your ability to build your domain authority and earn more links because you're avoiding all the content that's worth linking to. I should have put a slide in about that. I'll go back and do it later. That's a big point. You're ignoring some of the best link acquisition opportunities so your team doesn't have to send another 1,000 emails, right? All right. This one, I should have skipped this slide. I think it's a lighter point, but I think keyword difficulty can actually lure big sites into thinking they can get away with weak content. So here's an example, and WebMD, they've got 2 ranking slots on this SERP. This is for fish oil benefits. It's one I refer to often because it's kind of a fascinating search to watch. They're getting the featured snippet right now. Sometimes Healthline gets it. Sometimes it's a double featured snippet. Their content score this is a Content Harmony screenshot, is 8. They are very lowly optimized, very short word count on this piece of content. But they've got 674 domains. They've got WebMD's domain authority, so they're not really worried about that. They might be looking at this keyword and saying, we've got the featured snippet, we've got the links to stay in competition, and they might be thinking, skip that SERP, we've got other opportunities for new content to publish, other content to refresh. And I think it can lure sites into thinking that they don't have a bigger opportunity to improve their content, or that they can keep getting away with weaker content just because it's performing currently. And if you're doing a content refresh analysis and you're looking at pages that are performing that you don't have to refresh, this might show up on the list of like, no, we're good to go there. We're cleaning up on traffic. Google likes us. And so it's not necessarily fully a keyword difficulty problem, but if you're looking at how this page is performing in this SERP, you might be thinking, we're doing all right. We've got the links to compete. The page is doing fine. When in reality, this page is only ranking there because there's some latent intent for high blood pressure related to fish oil benefits, and this page just happens to serve it right now. But they should be matching that intent on the page that's actually keyword optimized for fish oil benefits. So I could go a few different directions with that, but I think even big sites are affected by thinking keyword difficulty has them safe when it really doesn't, right? Content, the expertise of the topic still matters. Keyword difficulty can also trick you into thinking that you can brute force your way past search intent. And so we looked at this a little bit with those Ahrefs keyword difficulty examples for the big brand names. Here's a more clear example. This is, or more day-to-day example of a keyword you might go after. Best sublimation printer. Pretty classic affiliate keyword, pretty classic keyword if you're, Best Buy or Office Space and you sell sublimation printers. So a lot of different sites are competing on this stuff. Now, if you type best sublimation printer, singular, and you look it down the SERP, all 10 links say printers. There's some list intent. Whether or not you type printer or printers in your query, Google thinks most users seem to want a list of printers to look at. And with the exception of this one green example in the middle of the page, all the other stuff ranking for the singular search are plural printers articles. And that might feel like it's just a coincidence or Google's rewriting the title, but if I actually throw a modifier on the search to remove anything with printers plural in the title, you see a bunch of really highly optimized content that these sites think they've done a great job of optimizing for, not visible on page 1. They're meeting a different intent. They're talking about the best sublimation printer instead of the best printers by subcategory or whatever. And now there's a couple that do have a little list intent in here. It's not a perfect example up and down the board, but we see a lot of great content pieces not ranking simply because the search intent got ignored, that people are looking for a list. And, I'm guilty as charged. We've done this on Content Harmony stuff too, where we look at something and we write the singular article, there's a list intent. It's a pretty common type of mistake. And keyword difficulty would lead you to think, we can rank for it, we've got the links, and even content optimization tools like Content Harmony and others would tell you, hey, you're optimized for this, but you ignored the step in the beginning to look at search intent. And so that's not necessarily a keyword difficulty problem again, but it's how teams use keyword difficulty to think they're in the clear and they've skipped over a critical step like search intent. The flip side of that is that keyword difficulty also ignores how your site can perform for a keyword. So let's back up 2 slides. A to Z of sublimation.com, ranking number 3rd for best sublimation printer. This site is less than a year old. Ahrefs gives a domain rank of 0.1. They have less than 150 referring domains, and they're getting 10,000 visits a month from 2,000 keywords. I assure you they have far less domain authority. I mean, at 0.1, everybody has more domain authority, but I assure you that Crafting Spree, Jennifer Maker, Color Me Crafty, these other sites not showing up on page 1 that didn't meet the intent probably have way higher domain authority. And for all intents and purposes, for looking at keyword difficulty, they deserve to rank more. But this site's got something they don't, and that's topical authority, because all they've written for the past year that they've existed is 100 articles about sublimation. And so if you write, it's not even an exact match or partial match domain thing. If you write 100 articles about sublimation and you're going up against a craft site with 5 or 10 articles on the topic, you have something they don't that keyword difficulty can't show you. And that's an incredible amount of expertise and authority. even if, I don't know this site, I don't know who owns it, I wouldn't be surprised if they were getting like classic affiliate content written by one of the content marketplaces. Like they might not have true expertise, but they've demonstrated through their editorial calendar that this is all they talk about. So something's going on there where they've established enough expertise to be cleaning it up on an affiliate keyword like best sublimation printer. And I think these things cost like $1,000 or thousands of dollars. I don't think they're like an inkjet, right? So if you're getting an estimated 600, 1,000, 2,000 sessions a month, you're probably making some decent affiliate money without building any links or having any domain authority. And so what point is it to track keyword difficulty when a site with more topical authority than you can just ignore keyword difficulty altogether? So there's a trend here, a couple of them. The first one is that keyword difficulty is mostly relevant in a world with 10 blue links. Those SERPs do still exist, but we generally live in this world where there are top 24 laptops, widgets showing up above your affiliate review, where there are news stories, video packs, video featured snippets, local business packs. You can find search results with 10 blue links, and those are the search results where perfectly optimized on-page content plus links is still the ranking equation that you need to solve. But a lot more SERPs nowadays look like this. And organic ranking slots are not necessarily the only ones or the primary ones you need to be optimizing for. Keyword difficulty hides this from you. Also, keyword difficulty matters in a world where EAT doesn't exist. This is a screenshot taken by Lily Ray, and she has an amazing presentation, or had an amazing presentation at MozCon this summer. I've got the link to the slideshare there. I recommend looking through the examples and some of the more technical Google things she references. And finding the video whenever you can get your hands on it. But she shows a great example here of some big notable publishers. Parents, I assume that's parents.com, Psychology Today, Medicine Net. I would look at these domains and be like, oh yeah, high authority, high expertise, like they know what they're talking about. And this is a 5-year traffic trend, I don't know, Systrix or whatever she's using for this, since 2017. And you can see just a clear downward trend on the site-wide traffic estimates to these sites. And then you flip over to who's replacing them, and you see sites like Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, the FDA, the CDC. Medical space, not necessarily the most perfect example for all of us in spaces where that, your money, your life, trust factor is not quite the same. But what she's showing in this screenshot, and she gives a bunch of others in other topics that are less medically oriented, is sites with true expertise and authority and trust are replacing the ones that just happen to publish a little bit about a piece of content. We are in a world where you cannot rely on a single metric for ranking feasibility. If you look at keyword difficulty, it's simply trying to answer the question, can I rank, or how hard will it be to rank? And keyword difficulty is not the metric that you can use for that anymore. And most teams are still using it that way. And so, of course, we've got our classic square wheels where we're too busy to improve our process because we're working so hard. And keyword difficulty is a little bit like that, because you throw these keywords with low keyword difficulty through your process, and then you're wondering why traffic's not taking off on them. And it's because you skipped other checks along the way in your process that could have helped you focus on the keywords that would have produced results for you. Okay. That's sort of the end of my taking your medicine on keyword difficulty section of the presentation. Now I get to focus on the fun part, which is how do you actually do better? What can your team actually be doing? The first thing is introducing better metrics. This is one part where I show you how we do things differently in Content Harmony, but even if you don't use Content Harmony, you can still figure out some of these same concepts in your current tools because we're transparent about what we're doing to calculate these things. There's a lot on the screen, so let me guide your vision to the purple column. Linking domains on the SERP, rolling up into a link difficulty score. This is Content Harmony's version of what Ahrefs calls keyword difficulty. The average number of referring domains to pages ranking averaged out into a 0 to 100 score of how bad is the link building going to be. We use Moz as our underlying link database, but we still see comparable scoring patterns to when we compare it to Ahrefs keyword difficulty. So we've renamed it link difficulty because, in my opinion, that's a more specific version of what it is. How hard will the link building be? In this case, we're looking at a keyword report for how to cook bacon. So you can imagine some of the content written is fairly good. These pages have some links, but not necessarily the most on the internet, and they come from reasonably large like food publishers, but not like the FDA or something like that. And so we have two other metrics on the left and right. On the right side, you'll see what we call domain difficulty. Domain difficulty is the average domain authority for page one results. That is actually domain authority from Moz, and they're credited inside the tool. Again, they're our link source. We average out their domain authority metric and roll it up into what we call domain difficulty. The reason we do that is because that is one of the areas that we see link difficulty fall apart, is when you have a low number of links to a page, but very high average domain authority. If you look back at those examples I shared earlier with like the fast food names like Noodles and Company, low keyword difficulty in Hrefs. If there was a domain difficulty next to it, it would be very high, 70s, 80s, 90s. And that's because the sites that rank for branded queries tend to be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter profiles for that brand. They are big domains. Therefore, you see domain difficulty go up. You need to be a big site to rank for those keywords. On the left side, you'll see what we call content difficulty. And this one's a little less simple to calculate because it's based off of our content score down here. And that's basically assessing how hard are these pages trying to rank for the keyword, how to cook bacon. And in this case, these are actually relatively high scores for the way Content Harmony currently does these content scores. This number 2 result is almost an exact match result for how to cook bacon. And it shows up throughout the content. The content's optimized really well. And so what we're trying to show with content difficulty is, regardless of the link building challenge, regardless of the domain authority challenge, how good does your content need to be? And so if you see one of those 10 blue links results where every single result is very well optimized for the keyword, you tend to see a higher content difficulty score. You need to really come with your best content to compete on this SERP. On the flip side, when you see a keyword where sites really aren't trying to rank for it, maybe they're tangentially related and this is a new developing keyword and there's not a lot of content for it, you see content difficulty scaled down. And that's because these sites are not necessarily targeting that keyword. They're targeting another topic and they happen to be ranking for this one. And so that allows us to uncover opportunities of basically content weakness, where these pages might be optimized for some keyword, but they're not optimized for this keyword. And there's a chance for you to come in with the best optimized piece of content and maybe skip over the link style keyword difficulty metrics because your content's better. So when you actually back this out into a set of keywords, on the top I have a list of home improvement keywords. On the bottom I have a list of nutrition and health style keywords. You can start to see some cool trends where we can pick out content link and domain difficulty and start to cherry pick opportunities to win these search results in different ways. Maybe I look at build a deck on the top row and I say content's really well optimized here, but we're Home Depot, so we probably stand a really good chance as long as our content's good and we've got some links to that page. I'm not worried about it. Or maybe I'm a new publishing site and I see the low domain difficulty and I think my domain can play in that result. I just have to build some links or something. If you go to all the way down to the bottom result, blood oxygen level, more of a medical query, you see domain difficulty rise into the 80s, and that's because the FDA and some big news publishers are the ones ranking for that site. And so the content is not as well optimized, especially with some of the fresh news intent happening on that query. So we see content score go down compared to the other keywords in this set, but domain difficulty rises. And what that's telling me is simply that freshness is going to be a factor, domain authority is going to be a factor. I need to be a big publisher, and there's some trust factors in play. So we can start to figure out a little bit more clearly why a keyword set might be difficult to rank for and look for little different trends in a set of keywords that we're going after. The second thing that your process needs to account for is introducing a search intent check. And what I mean by that is you need to be introducing search intent reviews, checkpoints earlier in your process. Content Harmony has what I think is one of the best search intent classification systems out there. We're always trying to make it better, but I could spend another hour telling you why informational, navigational, and transactional is a stupid and broken way of assessing search intent. It's not meant for SEOs to use. It's meant for search engines to use to figure out what a user wants. And your job is not to figure out what the user wants. It's to figure out what the user wants and what Google wants to show them. And so what our system allows you to do is basically get a clearer idea for what type of results appear. In this case, we've got a query for weighted blankets. And this actually has some split intent to it. You see a bunch of green check marks there, but our system goes in and looks for 80 different footprints in the SERPs and highlights, hey, there's shopping pack results, there's e-commerce, category or product pages ranking, There are some fresh news types of results. Could be actually news stories, or it could be more QDF, recently updated content types of factors. There's some local factors going on. There's a local shopping pack because Bed Bath & Beyond has weighted blankets in stock. And there's a little bit of research intent there. Like, this is clearly a head term. Somebody searching for weighted blankets doesn't necessarily know what kind they want and stuff. And so we're seeing some PAAs, or maybe something suggesting research intent. So there's a lot of different intent, but the predominant one is transactional. And that tells me that maybe I want to come at this with even though it's a head term with split intent, maybe I want to rank in the transactional slots and go after that intent. Maybe that's the direction that this keyword is going to head long term. And so again, when you back this out across a set of keywords, you can start to pick out cool trends. Now these keywords are slightly contrived. Health benefits of pumpkin seeds is a lot different than the keyword just pumpkin seeds, pumpkin carving tools, but all of these are pumpkin related. And so if you can imagine the keyword research you'd go through for your gardening website client, where you drop a whole bunch of pumpkin keywords into a list. If you run all of them through something like this, and you can see search intent pulled out so that the transactional keywords don't get mixed in with your article suggestions for the client's editorial calendar, that's the type of intent check that we need at the top of our process to make sure that we don't write an article about pumpkin seeds based on a volume estimate for that keyword, because that's a big keyword and you are not ranking for it with an article about 10 places to buy pumpkin seeds or how to plant pumpkin seeds. That is a different intent than the one showing on the head term. As I'm looking at keyword difficulty, one of the things I want to walk away with is to stop treating keyword difficulty as a metric and start treating it as a process. Keyword difficulty is a set of things you need to check, not one number. This is not necessarily the only process you can go through, but if I'm teaching a junior SEO how to think about keyword difficulty, I'd be telling them, first off, for the keyword you're looking at, or for the cluster of keywords you want to target with this page, what's the primary search intent? And then the corollary to that is, what's the right page type for that search intent? If we're getting a big transactional search result, we need a category page or an affiliate review page or a product page, not a blog post on what is. From there, we can decide, is on-page optimization a dominant factor? If you have a bunch of e-commerce category pages ranking, they might not have any on-page content. They might just have a list of in-stock products, and that might be the ranking factor aside from just raw domain authority. And so secondly then, is this topic relevant for us? Can we produce the right page type on the type of site we're running? Maybe your affiliate review site can't produce an e-commerce category page right now, so this keyword might be closed off to you at the moment. I then put, do we have authority on this topic? And I scratched it out and left it on screen because I want to emphasize, have we established authority on this topic is a different question. As an SEO, I can say, yeah, I've got authority on SEO, I've got authority on CRO, link building, marketing, but have I gone through and done the work to establish that authority with Google and with my audience to the point where I've established that I know as much about it as anybody else writing about the topic on the internet? And so we're going to hit on that more in a second, but the very last thing I have here is, what are the link acquisition requirements? And so if I showed this to myself 5 or 10 years ago, the mind-blowing thing for me talking to my former self would have been, links are the last factor I'm looking at in deciding whether or not I should publish content about this topic. It still surprises me to hear myself say it out loud, because I like link building. Links often win, right? Like, it still works sometimes, but links are the last factor that I would consider in whether I should write about this topic. And here's why. Links are telling you whether or not you can rank now for a topic. They're not telling you whether or not your brand should be writing about the topic. And they're not telling you whether or not your brand might be that little site that can rank for protein benefits and become the big site that's the authority on protein or whatever the topic might be, because you went through the work to write the topics that you can't rank for now. Now, I understand, agency and stakeholder requirements, we got to drive some traffic, put some numbers on the board. But if you're skipping over a bunch of high keyword difficulty things, ignoring the fact that you could be building links from them, you are skipping the fact that you haven't established topical authority on that topic. You're skipping over the fact that you understand protein benefits better than anyone else on the internet. And forget whether or not you're going to rank for it right now. Are you going to rank for it in 5 years? And does that content help you establish topical authority for your other protein content that does have low keyword difficulty in the classic sense that you can rank for now? So links might tell you what your short-term performance is going to look like, but it's not telling you what you should actually publish as a company, as a brand. All right, I've got this chart. I want to pause here. To me, this table is like an SEO Rorschach test. I've got 6 keywords on here: how to grow pumpkins, pumpkin companion plants, pumpkin seeds, pumpkin pie recipes, pumpkin carving tools, health benefits of pumpkin seeds. That same set of keywords, you can imagine pumpkin keywords coming out of like a topic research process for a client. I think I can show you this table and have you tell me which factors matter most and tell me which keywords a site should try to rank for. And I can tell you how you think as an SEO in regards to content, in regards to links, in regards to search intent, in regards to topical relevance, and probably a few other things. So let's pretend I'm running a gardening site, right? We might have dozens of articles on pumpkins. We have dozens of growing guides. We have like breeds of pumpkins we're covering. And we certainly have content about pumpkin seeds, but maybe we don't cover the health benefits of pumpkin seeds. Maybe we don't cover pumpkin seed recipes. And so we might have some gardening lifestyle content about pumpkin carving, but we're certainly not like the people talking about best pumpkin carving across the board. That's not our area of authority. So we're not experts on recipes, carving, some of this other stuff. And so looking at this, I think it's easy to dive right in and you start staring at these metrics and search and volume and intent. And it's easy to forget that 3 or 4 of these keywords are just topics you have no business ranking for whatsoever. They look like keywords that you're kind of like, yeah, we could fit that in our editorial calendar. You have no business ranking for them, and you are not going to suddenly rank for pumpkin pie recipes compared to, you know, so-and-so's recipe site that has 52 ways to cook pumpkin pie. I assume there's 52 ways, like curry pumpkin pie and stuff, right? It's easy as an SEO to get lost in the metrics and forget that, like, this should not be something our brand is covering. And maybe eventually we come back and we establish authority around pumpkin seeds or health benefits, but at that point, we should be doing health benefits of chia seeds, health benefits of other stuff coming out of your garden, right? Cardamom or something. And that kind of brings me to one of the other takeaways I have for you, which is that the best way to render keyword difficulty completely irrelevant for your site is to be focused on building this overwhelming authority for the topics that matter most to you. The best way for keyword difficulty to not matter is for Google to have to look at you and say, like, all right, well, we have to rank this site because they're the overwhelming authority on how to grow pumpkins, but then we're going to look at link metrics for the rest of these people that haven't established that authority. So my 4th tip for you is to build overwhelming topical authority. Another example that I have for you here, this is a site called Insteading. I own this site. It's about gardening and homesteading topics, which is like, you know, sort of passion project stuff for me. It's also like a SEO playground for the type of stuff that I want to play with. And we cover all things homesteading, right? We cover how to grow pumpkins. We might even get into like health benefits of pumpkin seeds. It's a little outside our purview, but we'll also cover raising chickens, raising ducks, DIY chicken coops, stuff like that. And we have a section here on beekeeping. You can see it in like the middle column underneath animals. We've published a decent amount of posts. I think there's 9 or 10 pages on that content hub about beekeeping. Like we're not nothing on the topic. When I actually look at how we are performing across bee and honey and pollinator related topics, we're sucking it up pretty hard. We have 1 page that's performing, and it's DIY beehive plans. And that actually has nothing to do with beekeeping. That has to do with building your own DIY beehive plans. And if you look at the rest of our site, we have a lot of great building topics on our site. So DIY beehive plans, we have some authority there across the site on building DIY stuff. For whatever reason, if I look down the middle of the page, we haven't established authority on how to catch a bee swarm. Even though we have a decent article on there, we're ranking on page 4 for it. And if I look at who is ranking, it's Bee Built, Honeyflow, Horizontal Hive, Carolina Honeybees. It's sites that don't have 9 articles about beekeeping. It's sites that have 900 articles about beekeeping. It's the overwhelming authorities in this space. And a couple of them are probably in the same domain authority, domain rank range, but a couple of them are probably smaller, but they are experts. And so if we go back, even if you think EAT is just Google PR speak, it's showing up in the search results whether you like it or not. Even if you can't quantify or qualify EAT as a score, it doesn't mean it's not killing off rankings that you thought you used to deserve that you don't anymore, because you haven't established the expertise and authority on the topic the way these people have. So it's not enough to cover a topic a few times. Now, this is an example where we have to go really deep on beekeeping and probably have 100 articles on the topic to really perform well on it, not just 5 or 10. But even if you're working on smaller sites, as we get into the actionable stuff, I think you can be building topical authority faster for your site. And one of the tips I have for you on how to do that is to go all in on structures like content hubs. And we have this post on different ways to structure content hubs, which is kind of a cool adjacent topic. But the reason I'm referencing it today is because if you can build an editorial and promotion calendar around a structure like this, this is about kites, but pretend it's about bees or protein, go all in on that topic for a quarter or for a year or whatever it is. That's going to allow you to focus your content creation efforts for a period of time on a core set of related topics. It's going to allow you to recruit writers around that expertise area and give them 20 projects, not one. It's going to allow your team to do a better job of interlinking, building these pages out to support each other when you do them all in the same work sprint, like protein or kites or whatever is going to be top of mind for them. Your promotion efforts are going to go further. We can actually align outreach and all your social media and stuff to this larger overall campaign push. And you're going to be able to demonstrate to Google that you instead of doing this random active keyword selection every 3 to 6 months, that you really know what the hell you're talking about. You're going to see better traffic growth when you can go all in on topic and get to this topical authority in 6 months instead of 6 years, because you're just picking off things and you're like, oh yeah, we never covered kite festivals, let's do that. So that's a little bit of a hack on how you can do this. If you're an agency, it actually makes for a pretty cool, you can really sell a client on a vision of we're going to be the dominant authority on this subtopic first. Forget all that other stuff you want to publish. Or if you're working with a stakeholder, hey, we've got this product coming out, let's be the overwhelming authority on that area of the product. And we'll get to the other stuff later, but that's going to allow us to really carve out some space that we own, and all of that work together is going to build on top of each other. The second thing is you're not stuck doing this once. You can do this over and over again. It looks like all my little Q1, Q2, Q3 indicators on this actually got turned into white text, so sorry. But the idea here is Q1, do your guide to kites. Q2, do your guide to, DIY crafts. Protein, fish oil benefits. Whatever that topic is, you can align your editorial calendar around it again and again. And when you get a year or 2 years into a calendar like this, you've built up topical authority in all the areas that you wanted to, but you did it in a way that got results potentially faster. This doesn't mean that the left white box is just supposed to say Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q1 again. This doesn't mean that the only thing you publish on for three months has to be that topic, right? So here's an example of how maybe, imagine orange subtopic is what I'm focused on in Q1. The dark gray subtopic is what I'm focused on in Q2. The green one is what I'm focused on in Q3. And I'm teasing out the next upcoming topic this quarter, but next quarter is when 5 out of 10 pieces I'm publishing are about that topic that I'm trying to build authority on. So you start to introduce basically themes to your editorial calendar, but you're doing it in a way where the SEO implications are we're getting results faster, we're building up the authority we want. This is how small sites can compete and ignore keyword difficulty. This is how small sites can prove that they're an authority even though they have 0 worthwhile links. They're just going overboard for a year and publishing sublimation. So a lot of the sites thinking about keyword difficulty are inherently small sites who think a keyword is too difficult. So, if you're the big players, you might not be thinking about keyword difficulty as much. You might not even be watching this presentation. But if you're a small site, this is how you break through a keyword difficulty and ignore it altogether, because Google has to rank you. You're just such a darn good authority on it. Keyword difficulty becomes irrelevant to you. This is also how the big sites become relevant, though. This is an example of customer success content published on HubSpot.com. On the bottom right, you can see on May 10th, 2018, HubSpot launches Service Hub to transform the way businesses delight their customers. On the left-hand side in Ahrefs Content Explorer, you can see a big old burst of content on customer success 1 month prior on the HubSpot blog. So you know that somewhere in December, January, February, March, the HubSpot editorial team got the note from on high, hey, we got a new product coming out. We'd really like to be relevant for customer success. And 11 articles later, at the end of April, headed into their product launch, they've got some stuff to share about customer success. And they kept it going at half the cadence for May and June. And obviously they're still publishing in the years to come as they come up with new topics. But right out of the gate, big authoritative content about customer success. They've got blog posts to link to from the landing page. This is how big multi-thousand person SaaS companies launch products and tie content marketing into their product marketing roadmap as well. And when you can tell your stakeholders, we're now visible for 1,000 queries a month related to customer success, that's really nice when it's the same quarter that you launched the customer success product. This is not like groundbreaking content. Like, it's good, HubSpot does good content, but it's how to turn a case study into a customer success study. Top 15 customer success metrics that matter. 8 customer success strategies. Like, it's just your bread and butter customer success content. And you can easily see how they could dedicate a quarter to going all in on customer success. And then afterwards, it just becomes one of their standard editorial silos that they do 1 or 2 pieces a month. So my point here is, you can ignore keyword difficulty if you can break through these link types of metrics, if you can analyze the intent and understand what it actually takes to show up for that keyword aside from just links. So the trick to making keyword difficulty irrelevant for your brand is getting better metrics into your process, introducing search intent earlier in your workflow, treating keyword difficulty as a process, not a metric, and then aligning your overall content editorial efforts to actually build the authority that you need to ignore the metrics that other people have to worry about. Building topic authority faster in your editorial calendar by Double Down, and repeating that process. That's it.
That was awesome. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll have some questions. So first of all, folks, again, if you have questions for Kane, I want to chat about keyword difficulty and some of these topics, drop them in the chat here. I definitely, somebody mentioned this and I wanted to bring it up. So Casey was talking about content velocity, which I think you're sort of touching on a little bit here.
Yep.
My takeaway is more, focusing around key clusters rather than velocity being kind of a key metric, but I'd love to get your take on that.
I think there's 2 ways to build hubs. There's the intentional way where you build out 10 pages at a time in a classic hub and spoke. And then there's the backing into it because you've covered it 20 times already and like, hey, we should throw a hub together instead of just a weak category page. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you've already done the work to be relevant on a topic, do I think it makes sense to build a hub to cluster all of that relevance into one nice landing page on the head term? Like, heck yeah. But going forward, as you're trying to be relevant for new topics, I think thinking through an initial content velocity that kind of does a hard push into a topic and then it becomes just your normal once in a while editorial thing is it's a great way to get over some of the topical authority challenges that I see happening. And so like, as an example, Content Harmony has this blog post from years ago on branding guidelines. And we give you 30 examples of PDFs of brand guidelines. It's just a list. We cleaned up on traffic for that for years. We are not experts on branding, but we had just a darn good post with better formatting. And then we slipped against sites like HubSpot that have 200 posts about branding, who caught on that we were winning a lot of traffic on a big head term for brand guidelines. And they did a post, not copying us, but like they did their own version of the post that was good. But they have the topical authority to really power through, and Content Harmony slipped on brand guidelines. And we didn't care because, it was kind of weird that we were getting all this traffic and, the links were nice, but it wasn't that's not what we care about ranking for as a brand. So we didn't try and build up the topical authority to beat it. But when I look at what happened from when we published that in 2014 to how we've sloped off over 8 years, we just abandoned the topic. Like, it was kind of a one-off thing where we were like, that's a cool blog post, let's publish it. If I look at the stuff we do care about, like search intent, keyword difficulty, content hubs, content briefs, that's where I'm like, all right, we need to keep building authority on these because that's what we care about. Like, that's where our software helps you do, is build briefs, build better content, and then, align it into good clusters, things like that. So that's a little tangential from the original question, but thinking about content velocity, I think content velocity overall matters, but I think you can look at topical authority from a velocity lens too. Build it quickly, establish it, get some links, promote it. And it's not necessarily a checkbox, but like, I feel like you've now passed the hurdle a lot faster to have the authority there.
Right. Yeah, and I think too it's such a good tool, like internally. If you need to get buy-in, or you get you want to improve to your client that's working or whatever. If you can sort of batch and publish it quickly around a core topic, and sort of establish that authority early, show progress, and then get more investment or whatever you need to do to keep the program running.
And to that point, I'm sitting here talking about the SEO stuff. I'm the type of SEO that just likes to talk shop with other SEOs. I'm completely skipping over the fact that that's a hell of a lot better vision to sell to people that don't care about SEO.
Yeah,
we're visible for 10,000 sessions a month about customer success. That's a vision that a C-suite hears, and it's traffic based, but it meets brand goals. They don't care about topical authority. They care about the part where you're winning for a topic that they care about. And so there's a lot of this that can paint one big vision for a content program and get better buy-in and better resources to execute a bigger content vision than just random acts of content, even if you've got an editorial calendar that's on brand and things like that.
Love that. Mark had a question about reverse silos versus content hubs.
What's a reverse silo?
Yeah, I'm also curious about that. I thought you might know. Mark.
Okay.
Help
There's a couple
here.
SEO sites publishing on it. Typically, silos are a product of the site architecture. I don't know. There's some worksheet here. I'm going to learn along with you.
If everybody wants to chime in the chat.
Maybe it's like an article that is not in the navigation but acts as a content hub page and interlinks, like a gateway sort of page in a way. I don't know. Sounds cool.
Interesting.
So do I have an opinion? No. To me, it just sounds like a different way of structuring content hubs in the site architecture. That content hubs post, there's a bunch of drawings I made, and some of them are here's how to do a classic hub and spoke, but some of them are, here's how to do what I call a topic gateway page, which is really just a blog category page that isn't sucky. So I think there's a lot of cool ways to integrate content hubs, and really it boils down to, does it sit in the navigation? How does the interlinking work? And how do users interact with that page in order to find other related content? Is it an article where they read through and there's lots of internal links, or is it an index or a database where they do a search filter in order to find content appearing in a database underneath there? So different types of content hubs and how they're integrated get differently, and I care more about following that pattern in a way that users expect and having a lot of good internal links.
Makes sense. Yep.
But I'll Google this. Reverse sounds cool.
Sounds sophisticated. I don't know what it is. So.
I'm a sucker for a good tactic. Let's do it.
What's the top 3 things e-com sites should look at to establish topical authority? Ooh, that's an interesting one.
REI is my evergreen playbook on how sites should establish authority around a topic and tie it back to their product pages. How to start hiking, ultralight hiking packing guide. You have to link to your e-commerce category pages. It's just a no-brainer. And so back the questions out. I really like brainstorming worksheets or brainstorming grids. Imagine a grid where the top row is REI selling bikes, commuter bikes, mountain bikes, electric bikes, road bikes. And then imagine a row of beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert. And now do a brainstorming across your product silos and across your buyer types in each category and think, what questions does this person have about the bike they're about to buy, about the accessory they're about to buy? And all of a sudden you have a beginner question about commuter biking that's a lot more differentiated from an advanced bike commuter looking for a better helmet or whatever. And so that to me is the best way to do that brainstorming. And it's impossible, you set up one of these little brainstorming grids and it's impossible not to have 64 content ideas. And I think the topical authority will come with executing on those Q&A fillers, whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that. That's sort of kind of how we do it as well. We use sort of a jobs to be done driven model, but it's kind of the same thing, right? We're trying to build topical authority around, a specific feature or something, use case for a product or whatever. And yeah, it's kind of working backwards to say, okay, what are the questions people have about this topic, broadly, and how do we sort of build around that central theme? The other thing I think about too is we treat a feature page or a product page on e-commerce site. We think of that as basically it's a middle of the funnel page. And so how do we sort of build out around that and sort of incorporate that into our funnel model and a hub and spoke model, et cetera?
Yeah, the one dangerous thing I've seen is we have clients in e-commerce spaces that are authoritative sites that create these, pretend they're the manufacturer and not the retailer. They create these beautiful pages to meet the category keyword of, type of product or whatever. And they lose out to shitty sites that have a classic e-commerce category page because Google can tell it's an e-commerce category page with 12 products in a grid.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I go back to the intent, figuring out like, is on-page optimization and a beautiful customer experience the core ranking factor, or do you just need an ugly grid of products and then, you've got some buyer FAQs. And my other go-to for all things e-commerce category pages is look at the FAQ content on the bottom of any Home Depot category page. It's awesome. It's the exact questions that users have about the product they're about to buy. So that's one of the, we show you a big old list of PAAs and Quora threads and Reddit questions inside of Content Harmony reports. And that's one of the ways we teach teams to use it for e-commerce category pages. You're not using Content Harmony because you need a perfectly optimized e-commerce category page. You need a bunch of products in stock, and then here's a list of questions you should answer about buying the product. And that's how you win on-page content optimization on a category page. It's not about having 20,000 words. It's about answering the questions buyers actually have on those products. And Home Depot just cleans up on it.
Love that. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, first of all, thank you again, Kane. We're at our hour here, so I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah,
folks, real quick, do you want to pull up that last slide one more time just so folks see your...
Yeah, I think this link is actually 404ing Tofu Harmony. It's going to take you to a vegan restaurant or something. That link will work within the next hour, so I think the page is going up soon. But we'll have a landing page for the Tofu community, and we'll leave that up long term for just a member benefit for people that are in the Tofu community already. But we give you free credits to try out Content Harmony if you DM me in Slack on the Tofu community. I'm there, happy to get you set up. Email you a link. When you activate a subscription, that's when we give you the 2 months of free bonus credits at whatever plan level you're at. But if your team is building content and your content brief process could be better, your optimization could be better, that's where Content Harmony really shines, and we'd love to show you the cool stuff you can do.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for that offer. Again, definitely, if you haven't already, hit the link. Should be in the description below to check out Content Harmony. And as Kane mentioned, join us here in top of the funnel, yesoptimist.com/tofu. You can connect with him directly and of course, take him up on this awesome offer for some free Content Harmony credits.
Sweet. Thanks, everybody. I'm on
Cool.
Twitter after this if there's immediate questions and stuff too.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much again.
Or in the Slack group in Tofu. That's where I should be sending them. I'm on Twitter, but I'm
either
also
one, whatever.
Go
Yeah.
there.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thanks again. Thanks all for joining, and have a great day. Cheers.